Hello friends, members of St. Paul's Episcopal Church. My name is Paul Klemme. I'm the Director of Music Ministries here at St. Paul's in Salem. I come to you again with another music ministry message. I'm so glad that we can communicate this way. I'd rather have lots of people around, but I thought that this would be a good opportunity for you to see me at this beautiful organ that we have at St. Paul's. I'm going to take this opportunity today to sort of give a little bit of an education class, if you will, about the organ. Some behind-the-scenes look at this unique instrument. Also, perhaps maybe talk a little bit about how it was built and how it's constructed and how it works. So, here I am in my favorite place at St. Paul's. This beautiful organ that we have here is what I would consider to be very unique and special compared to other instruments. Now, this particular organ I would consider to be sort of small, medium size, but I think it works really well at St. Paul's. We're so lucky to have it. Now, let's take a look at the instrument a little bit, and then I'll give you a little bit of history. This particular organ was built by a Canadian. His name is Gabriel Kney. Mr. Kney is still living. He built this organ in 1975 and put it in. So when you look at this insignia right here, you'll see the words Anno Domini 1975, which means in the year of our Lord, 1975. So this organ here at St. Paul's, even though it looks maybe a little bit historic, is really only 45 years old. Now, the question comes up, why is the organ so important to the church? Why do we use it still in the 21st century? Because it's been around for a long time. There's no doubt in my mind that the organ serves such a huge role in music ministry. You get a sense that you can almost have like an orchestra at your fingertips. And for me as an organist, at my toes. So the great thing about this instrument is that I can carry a congregation on a hymn, or I can play very soft to accompany a soloist, or of course there's been many, many pieces of written for the organ over the many years. How many years, you say? Believe it or not, the organ comes from the 12th century. The organ is one of the first instruments ever invented. So this is a pipe organ. There are pipes in this organ, and each one of these keys, there's a pipe for each one. And actually, it's multiplied by all of these stop knobs. So let's talk about why in the 21st century we still use the instrument. Well, mostly for service music, for concerts, all kinds of things. And so it's been this service instrument that has been around for centuries. The pipes in the organ are built on principles of a flute. So if you can imagine, in the oldest days, how did people make music? They made music, first of all, by cutting a piece of wood and putting holes in it and blowing through it. And that concept of the flute is what we still have for pipe organs today. Now, don't get me wrong. There are other kinds of pipe organs today. This particular organ is unique in that it is based on mechanical action principles. In other words, there's no electricity involved in this organ except only to pump air into the bellows, and then the pipes sound. Now, I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But if you can imagine, before the day of electricity, we're talking about having an organ here, and how did the air get into the pipes? Well, people literally had to use their manual muscle to pump the bellows and the air into the reservoirs so that the pipes could sound. So now when electricity came into the 20th century, then we were able to electronify those sounds that once we pressed a key, there was an electric signal that went up to the pipes, and it opened the holes and the pipes were sounding. Finally, certainly in the 21st century, we have electronic instruments that are completely digital. In other words, the sounds have been sampled into computers, and then the sound of a flute or a string or a trumpet has been sampled, and then it can be sent through speakers. I love this organ because it's a pipe organ. It feels like there's a voice in the room. It feels like there's living, breathing mechanism here, and that this truly is a wind instrument. We're so lucky to have this organ. Now, let's take a look at how the organ is constructed. You can see that there are different manuals here. There are 2 manuals, so it sets itself apart from the piano. The piano, of course, just has 1 manual. Now, the thing that's different about the organ is that there are only 56 notes here on this manual. For the piano, it goes yet another octave out high and again low. The organ has 2 manuals, so I can have different sounds here and different sounds here. And I don't think you can see it on the screen, but maybe we can get the camera to look down at my feet. So there's a keyboard down here, and I'm going to play a scale for you with my feet. So I've got this instrument, I've got this instrument, and I've got this instrument. 3 keyboards all at one time. So I love the possibility of being able to create like an orchestra right with my own hands. Now let's listen to the different families of stops that are inherent on most organs. So I was talking about a flute earlier. Let's listen to a flute on this lower keyboard. These stops here control this keyboard, and these stops control this keyboard. So let's listen to the flute down below first. Now there's a different flute on the top manual, and let's hear it. So they're slightly different. This one's a little bit softer. So let's listen to another family of stops. Another family is called principal. So there are a lot of sort of principal sounds, garden variety organ sounds that you'll hear. So the principal on this main manual, let's listen to the sound. It's a little bit louder and fuller. Sort of the guts of the instrument, the nucleus of the organ. So that's principals. Then we also have what's called string sounds to sort of emulate maybe what a violin might sound like. It's kind of hard to do that on the organ, but let's listen to what's called a viola da gamba. It literally is labeled that way here on this organ. Soft and sweet. I use this stop often to accompany soloists and smaller ensembles. The final family of stops is what we call reeds. If you can imagine an oboe, that would be a reed stop. There's also what's called the trumpet on this organ. It sounds not so much like a trumpet in what we hear, but it's pretty brassy. Let's listen to this trumpet right here. Much louder, and of course I use that a lot on Easter. One more reed that I want you to hear is what's called the crumb horn. A lot like the oboe, if you can imagine a double reed instrument, this crumb horn is more associated with the Renaissance period, and so listen to this one. So if I keep the crumb horn on this top manual, and I have a flute on the bottom manual, and then I have my cellos down in the feet, you can tell that I have sort of an ensemble with my 2 hands and my feet. So just listening to the pedal. Now I'm going to bring in the crumb horn. So I have lots of combinations that I can make an orchestra sound, or I can have a solo, or I can accompany the congregation. Now, this manual here is called the Brustwerk, sometimes known or translated as a cabinet. So these particular sounds on this particular manual are contained in a smaller box on the organ, and I'll show you that in a bit. The sounds on this one, which is called the Hauptwerk, it's a German word for main keyboard, this one has the larger sounds. So they're separate. However, I can combine the sounds and make it louder, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. So we have those 4 different families of stops, and then the beauty of the organ is that I can play one note and then I can expand upon it and go higher or lower depending on the way the organ pipes are constructed. So let's listen to middle C on a principal stop. That's middle C. Now notice I'm just playing with one finger. Now I'm going to add another stop. It's called another principal stop, but it's labeled an octave higher. Listen. So I'm still playing with one finger. I now have 2 pipes sounding at an octave apart. Now I'm going to do one more octave. It's a little hard to hear maybe, but you can tell that now I'm just playing that one pitch, and now I've got 3 octaves, but with one finger. Wow, the organ really is going to be expanded this way. And then, of course, in the pedal, let's see if we can hear it. If I play middle C in the pedal on this pitch here, that's middle C. Now I'm going to pull another stop. I'm still holding it with one foot, and it goes down the octave. So again, I can expand up and I expand down. So that's basically how this is all constructed. Wind is blown through an electronic blower, and then all of these keys are available to me through whatever stops I pull on. And these are called ranks of stops. So there's a pipe for every one of these. I can combine them, I can keep them separate. So I think what we'll do now is I'm going to pause just for a second, and I'm going to show you the inside of the organ so that you can see what the inside of the organ looks like. Let's go. So here I am in front of the main part of the organ. This particular organ, as I say, is in 2 different divisions. We talked about the Brustwerk, which is the cabinet organ, which is down below, and the Hauptwerk, which is the main organ, which is up above. So I've decided to get up pretty high and show you this particular part of the organ. Now we can't get inside it, it's a little bit tricky right now, but what you see in front of you here are pipes that are made of tin and lead, and they've been sort of artistically done on the outside so that they look like they're kind of bronze, but they're actually made of tin and lead. And behind this rank of pipes is another 1,000 pipes. Those different knobs that you saw on the Hauptwerk, there's a whole bunch of pipes back there. Some are made of wood, most are made of this combination of tin and lead. And so this particular rank that you see above my head, this rank actually works. It plays, and when we talk about ranks of pipes, this would be a principal rank. When I pull on the knob, this whole rank of pipes is available and ready to play. The wind is shooting through, and then when I push the key down, then there's a little piece of wood that opens up the hole and the air goes through. So I wanted you to see the main part of the organ. The Hauptwerk is up here. There's even bigger pipes way back behind, some of them 8 feet tall. So that's the main part of the organ, and now let's go down and talk and see about the little cabinet organ down here. Okay, everyone, now I'm a little bit lower, a little bit safer, and I'd like to show you the Brustwerk part of the organ. This is in a little bit of a cabinet, so you can see that the doors on this organ open and close. I have them open right now. I'm going to open them all the way. And so now you can get a sense of the smaller part of the organ. This was actually the top keyboard, and all of the stops on that left side of the organ operate this particular part of the keyboard. So it sounds a little softer, and there's some special stops, like that Crumb Horn. Do you remember that? That's in here as well. Now I'm going to step aside, and I want you to be able to see, hopefully on the camera, you can see how all the different ranks are stacked up in this little cabinet. Let's have a look. So you can see that there's many different pipes back there, and they're all different sizes, of course, the bigger pipes being lower and the smaller pipes being higher. So these pipes, again, almost all of them are made of that tin and alloy with the lead. So this particular organ has also shutters on it that you can't see very well, but I can get the organ really soft by closing the shutters. That's why it's called in a cabinet. Now, I also brought a special pipe. I pulled one out specifically. This is one of the Crumb Horn pipes, and I don't know how well you can see it, but you can actually see that there's a little stem here, and that stem goes up and down, and that's how I tune the pipes to go sharp or flat. And I'm going to also demonstrate for you now that the wind that is driven through the pipe comes through this hole, and then the sound comes out the top. So this is a Crumb Horn pipe, and I'm literally going to blow it so that you can hear it. That's the Crumb Horn. Kind of sounds like a duck call, doesn't it? And that's just one of almost 3,000 pipes in this organ. So we have the smaller cabinet organ, the main organ, and then the pedal notes, which are lower, they're actually hidden behind. It's an amazing artistic achievement. Now, let's go back and let's hear all of these sounds together. I don't know about you, but I just find the inside of organs just so fascinating. And I don't know that too many people have seen the inside of this organ here at St. Paul's. So we have roughly about 3,000 pipes in this organ. You would never know it, but they're all different sizes. Of course, the smallest pipe is going to be the highest sound, and the bigger the pipe is, the lower the sound goes. And it's so beautifully constructed. So now that we've seen the pipes, let's hear some sounds and see how I can build up the sound so that when we play hymns on Sunday morning, you can hear how much joy there is for me, and I hope for you, when we sing hymns with great gusto. So once again, I'm going to play middle C, and I'm going to build the organ up and see how, and show you how sounds can be combined. So do you remember the principal sound? There's that principal sound. Now I'm going to add another principal sound to build up, and now an octave higher, and then yet another stop. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the sound from the top manual down to the bottom with a foot lever that I'll put on, and you'll hear it beginning to build up more. Now here's a really high pitch, and then another high pitch. Here's the organ pedal. Amazing. All I was doing is pressing one key with one finger. Imagine when I get all of my fingers going. So you could see how I built that up. There's so many different possibilities. So all of this is mechanical action. There are literally pieces of wood that go out from the back of the organ up into the organ chamber where the pipes are. It's all connected with pieces of wood and fine, fine artsmanship. It's just amazing. So this organ would be built on the same principles that Bach would have used. There's quite a movement in the United States and around the world to build organs that can play literature from the Baroque period. This instrument is a neo-Baroque organ. Now I've got all the stops on. I'm going to play one of my favorite hymns as a goodbye gift to you. Thanks for coming along.